Friends, welcome back. I've got another video for you that I love to film. I hope that you guys are enjoying these as much as I am. I love to show you the things that I do in the kitchen just on a regular basis. So yes, I am sharing these recipes with you, but really, I'm also just sharing life with you, and I truly enjoy this so much. Several things that we need to do today. I've got it all written down so that I don't forget any of the items. We need to put away the bone broth that I made. We're gonna actually make some juice in this video. I do not have a juicer, but 2 weeks ago, I made juice, homemade juice in our blender, and I'm gonna show you what I did. And I mean, we can't get enough. We can't get enough of it. I actually considered buying a juicer just because we loved it so much, but the blender works just fine. It's just a little bit of extra effort. I'm gonna make these harissa bowls, okay? So a lunch item that we're gonna be eating, absolutely can be a dinner, but we like to have stuff ready for bowls for lunches because they're just so easy to make, so good. All right, so to put away this bone broth, I'm going to strain the bone broth that I already made. And if you have questions on how to make bone broth, I have another video where I've made it. You can check it out right here. I don't remember if in that video I included that I put apple cider vinegar in the Instant Pot with the bones, but I always do that. And I feel like for some reason I didn't say that in the video, but I always add 2 tablespoons or so of apple cider vinegar. So we are going to strain the bone broth into a measuring cup and then fill each one of the mason jars or ball jars or whatever it is that you choose to put them in. I purchased a bulk amount of mason jars a while back, so that is what I've been using. These are the larger wide mouth mason jars. I usually make enough that I can put several of these in the freezer and then we can just pull them out whenever we need them. A little over 3/4 of the way full, because as things freeze, they expand. And if you're not careful, you will break these jars in the freezer. So I'm gonna repeat until we have filled all the jars that we can with all of the bone broth that we have. Now I'm gonna put the lids on. And for me, I never screw the lids on all the way until it's completely frozen. Now I put mine in the refrigerator for maybe overnight before we put them in the freezer. And the reason is that fat is gonna rise to the top and then you can scrape off the fat out of these jars. If you don't mind the fat being in there, you can absolutely leave it on. It just makes it a lower fat version of the bone broth. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's totally fine. You can leave it the way that it is, but I always scrape the fat off of ours just because we don't really need the extra fat. We get it in a lot of other places. Sit it in the refrigerator overnight. Then in the morning, you can scrape off the fat or throughout the day. It really doesn't take too long. Then make sure those lids are not screwed on all the way and you can put them in the freezer and let them freeze up and then they'll be good. So a couple tips though, only fill them about 3/4 of the way full. Don't screw your lids on all the way tight until they're frozen. And then don't let the glass touch while they're in the freezer, while they're freezing up. Afterward, it's fine. But I have broken a few jars and those are my tips that I've kind of learned along the way to not break your jars, because you definitely don't want to waste all this hard work making the bone broth. Again, if you're curious on how we make bone broth, you can check out this video right here. The next thing that I want to do, we're gonna make those harissa bowls. So they're served over rice. Let me go ahead and get the rice soaking. Personally, I like to soak my rice. We usually soak ours for several hours before we start cooking it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that process. Especially if you're using brown rice. This is not the reason we do it, but if you find that brown rice just doesn't get done enough for you, if you soak it first, you might like the consistency a little bit more after it's cooked. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make 3 full cups. I had several of you comment on a video recently about this rice maker asking me if we ever have issues with it burning on the bottom. Yes, if you don't, so we cook ours and then when it flips up to the like keep warm or whatever that is right there, we always just unplug it so that it doesn't really keep warm, because the bottom here, your heating element, it's gonna get it really hot. So as long as once you hear that click, you don't let it just sit there for another 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it is, go ahead and unplug it so that it shuts down. We don't really have that burn on the bottom. Okay, let's just add water to this. And I just cover the rice. And we can set this back there to the side, and then a little later, we'll make the rice. I was thinking about having tea this afternoon, but now I want coffee. So I'm gonna make coffee. And also, you know what I just realized? Oh my gosh, why do I always do this? I was gonna make this juice, and the other day when I ordered groceries, they didn't have beets. And that is one of my favorite ingredients in this juice. Looks like I'm going to the grocery store. All right, back with the beets. Yeah, you guys know. You guys know this happens regularly. Okay, the juice that I made last time was beets, pineapple, green apple, and ginger. And it was delicious, so I'm definitely gonna make that again. I also might try another one because we are in abundance of carrots right now. Let's just try this one first and see where we go from there. This is a question that I get a lot. How do you sharpen your knife? With this thing that came with it. Give it a quick sharpen before you start. I always just wipe it off because if there's any little steel or whatever that's even made out of, any little pieces, then make sure to get it off. Okay, you know what? Let's get out the blender so we can go right in there. And one thing that I've been trying to do lately, this is gonna make, it's gonna stain my hands. This is how it did last time. I have been trying to have a trash bowl ready to go. There's trash, but also anything that I'm not gonna use. So when I peel the beets, I throw them in here. Our neighbor has chickens, and so I'm able to give her all of the scraps and she can give them to the chickens. I do think this time I'm going to use the leaves, but I'm not gonna use them in this juice. I'm gonna use the leaves in the other juice that I'm gonna make with carrots. So I'm gonna save those. So actually, I need a scrap bowl here, and I need a to be washed bowl for the next thing, the other juice. Okay, so we'll use some, I don't know if I'll use all the leaves, but we'll use some of the leaves, and then some of them I will send across the street to the chickens. And I really love beets, so I'm gonna go ahead and make all of them. The reason I have not taken a lot of interest in juicing in the past is because a juicer removes all of the fiber from the fruit or vegetable that you're pureeing. And so I've really just kind of thought like, okay, maybe just occasionally, because I really do like fresh juice. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so, you know, we always have the fresh juice. I don't want to remove all the fiber. I want to have the fiber. So then when I started doing my research the other night, I was actually, my husband was out to dinner with some of the men in our church. And I was sitting there researching this, and I got so excited when I was like, oh, when I realized I can make the juice in my blender. And then, you know, you pull out the pulp and everything, you'll strain it out, which I'll show you. But you can put some of it back in so that you get that awesome fiber from the fruits and vegetables. It's gonna be super fun. It also doesn't come off right away either. So you guys get to see red hands in the whole video. It's worth it though, I'm telling you, it is worth it. I actually really like beets anyway. I love to mix beets and feta cheese. It's delicious. I know it sounds weird, but it's so good. So at this point, I just cut them into, I don't know, small enough pieces that I don't feel like it's going to mess up the blender. So maybe 8s for each little one, but obviously that also depends on the size of the actual beet that you're using. And they can go right in. I'm gonna use all 4 because I like my juice to be beet heavy. And y'all, my kids loved this juice. I mean, we were all fighting over who was gonna get the last bit when it came down to the last glass. So, I mean, it's maybe more expensive habit, but it's a good one for sure. So we've got beets. Now listen, if you don't like beets, that's okay. Don't feel like you have to use them. You can use whatever juice type works for you. Like I said, we are gonna try a different one. I don't know if I'm gonna do it in this video, but we're definitely gonna try a different one just because I have so many carrots. So I can show you other kinds as well. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up this pineapple. It's cut through and cut into large pieces, and then that can go straight into the blender. And last time I did a whole pineapple in this as well. Now, because of the fact that it's pureeing it, there's really nothing that goes to waste here. You can even use that core piece, which is awesome. Tell me in the comments, or have you guys ever done this before? Have you ever made your own juice? All right, now because it's so full, I'm gonna go ahead and start the puree process. What I've discovered when you do this, when you do it this way, you do have to add some water. So I start with about a cup of water, maybe a little less. All right, lid on. And puree. All right, all of my mason jars are dirty. Actually, I have one, but it's not gonna fit all of this in there. So we're gonna have to go with a few plastic containers just to make sure we can fit it all. And let's see. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to put the rest of the ingredients in here. So let's start to go ahead and filter this. Then I'll go back and add the ginger and the green apple, and we'll just mix it all together. It'll be fine that way. Like I said, you get a little bit creative when you don't actually have a juicer, but you're trying to make juice. You guys are also gonna try these bags with me for the first time. So last time I just used cheesecloth. This time I bought these nut milk bags. So you pour it in the bag and it helps to strain out the pulp. Very convenient. Hopefully this will be big enough to try this. I'm a little nervous that we're gonna make a huge mess. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so now, speaking of my hands being red, this is gonna do it. Now, truthfully, because this is something that I think we're gonna enjoy so much regularly as a family, I'm probably gonna have to buy a juicer, but I was trying to avoid it. It's either that or buy the juice, but I mean, over time, I bet the price works out similar. So also, I think that you can let this just sit and it will strain itself out over time. I'm not sure I have a big enough bowl to do that in. That's why I'm going with this method. Well, friends, off camera, I got beet juice all over, down the front of my shirt, on the floor, on the counter, all the things. And I was gonna change, but let's be real. If you've been here before, that's not a good idea because I'm just gonna experience the same thing in a minute again because that's how we operate. All right, so I'm gonna cut up these apples here and I don't even take the peel off. That's just my preference, and just pop those straight into the blender. Also, at this point, I'm debating on whether or not the nut milk bags is what they're called. So they're not really intended for juicing. I think they're more intended for nut milks, like making your almond milk and things like that. I can't decide whether they are better than me just using cheesecloth or not. I mean, obviously those are reusable, which is really nice, and cheesecloth really isn't. It's a one and done type of deal. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I think I need to give it a few more chances. So as it stands right now, this is what I have. And I did add some of the pulp that I didn't strain out in both of those. Now we need to add in the apple juice, and I'm also gonna add in ginger because fresh ginger is just so good in this blend. I'm using 3. I think that last time I used 4, but I've only got 3 left over there. So I wanna make sure that I have enough in case I decide to make this other juice as well. Okay, the ginger needs to be peeled. Also, I'm pretty sure I have beet juice in my hair. Pretty sure. All right, so again, a little bit of water. lid on. Same process. Okay, I feel like that's good. So here we go. Process number 2. This one looks a little thicker than the other one. Oh, it strains a lot easier. It's either the beets or the pineapple. I need to figure out. I mean, look, it has to be the beets because pineapple has so much water in it. It has to be the beets. I hate to go without the beets, but man, that would be so much easier. Look how much easier this is. Oh my goodness. All right, well, we're just here looking for the easiest one to make, right? The tastiest / easiest. Okay, yeah, there's pulp in there, but it's way drier this time than the other one was, so pretty much just juice. We got a little bit of pulp, but didn't even think about that. We got a little bit of pulp in there, but I'm good with that. All right, let me wash all that up and let's fill these. So this is 2.5 cups. Okay, then it's about even in both of those. All right, let me clean up a little bit. I'll be back in a sec. All right, y'all, so obviously this might not be your thing, and that's totally okay. I haven't decided yet if it's my thing because it is a lot of work, but it's so good. So I've got 2 of them here. This will last us. You don't drink a lot of it at a time, right? You're not going to drink half of this in one sitting. It's just a couple of ounces. So I'm going to put these in the fridge and I will make another one in another video. And we're just going to kind of figure this out together. Okay. So as I learn the process, as I figure out what works best and what the easiest way to do this is, I'll just continue to share with you all. Let's just put this in the fridge now. I want to start on those harissa bowls. So I need to strain off or rinse this rice. So let's just rinse that. All right, so let's add lemon juice to our rice. I'm gonna add about 1.5 tablespoons turmeric, maybe a teaspoon, and some salt. And now this one, that was a little more salt than I intended, but it's okay because we're using bone broth, not chicken broth. Okay. And my chicken broth is, or my bone broth is almost ready to pull the fat off of the top. I just checked it, but I'm just going to use this carton that we had in there for now. This will get me just about there. Ooh, I'm going to have to add a touch of water. Okay, so I'm making everything for these bowls now, but we're not going to be eating them right away. I will insert video of what it looks like, you know, when they're all put together, but I just want to show you the process of making them. You definitely could make them and eat them right away too. All right, let's put this over in the rice maker and I can go ahead and get this started. All right, for the chicken, I'm going to marinate for a minute. Let's make up the dressing in this. So there's the dressing and the marinade are the same. So let's make that. For this dressing / marinade, I'm using this harissa seasoning. You can also use a harissa paste if you want. Harissa is hot, but we like spice. So that's why we're totally comfortable with it. Okay, less heat. Use less harissa if you want less heat. Let's do like a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. Let's do 2 teaspoons. What's happening here? This doesn't like me very much right now. I can't today. I mean, I am just, wow. Wow. Okay. That's maybe 2 teaspoons. Let me clean this up. If you're going to use harissa paste and not the dried version here, the spice that I'm using, then you're going to use like a 1/4 cup of the paste. Maybe I might do even a little less, maybe 3 to 4 tablespoons. Now, because of the fact that this is a marinade and a dressing, we're making a good amount here. So don't let that alarm you. I'm going to do about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of honey. So it's a good bit of honey here. Like I said, we're using it for marinating and for dressing. Okay, same thing with the lime juice, 1/4 to 1/2 cup. Just depends on how much dressing you want to make.
We're just gonna match the two. Okay, add a pinch of salt. About a teaspoon. And I'm adding avocado oil. Again, maybe a half cup or so-ish. I might add more harissa if I taste it and I feel like I want a little bit more heat. You gotta mix for a bit here on this one because you have that honey in there, so it takes a minute. I'm gonna cut my chicken into strips. So you can just buy chicken strips if you want, but it's just, this is convenient. You know, I bought it just like this. And we'll cut it into strips. I like to also trim the fat off because I think it's gross. And then we're gonna go straight into this container right here. Primarily, my husband and I will probably eat this lunch. This one, I feel like I'm gonna make it a little spicier. The kids have been eating buffalo chicken wraps a lot for lunches. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to check out this video right here. It's a super quick lunch, high in protein. We love it. It comes together really fast and it's delicious. I mean, can't say enough good things about that lunch. I think my husband and I could each get maybe 3 days out of this, which would be awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna salt the chicken a little bit here. And then take some of that marinade and pour over the top. Just giving that good flavor. I do want to save some though, because remember, this is our dressing as well. So about half is going to go in as the marinade. And I think I'm actually going to add some parsley. I have tons of it on the garden. The recipe doesn't call for this, but I have so much right now, I may as well. I want to make sure that I use it so it doesn't go bad. So we'll just clip that in there and add it. For this, I'm gonna add a touch more oil, just a touch. That was maybe a teaspoon. Put the lid on, and then you can just shake around that marinade, and then just set it to the side and let it marinate for a bit until you're ready to cook it. For this recipe, there's several things that you put in the bowl. Obviously, you can choose whatever you want to choose. Tzatziki, hummus, pickled onions, cucumbers. You could put tomatoes in there. You can make a nice little salad to go on the bottom. It does not have to be rice. Several different ways. I've actually already made tzatziki. You can see that in this video right here. I've made tzatziki several times before, and I actually made it last night. So you can get the recipe there for that. Definitely highly suggest making that because A, it's great protein. You can buy pickled onions. You can buy hummus. I'm actually gonna make both of them here. They're very, very easy to make, so don't let that alarm you. And I'm just gonna do 1 onion. So I'm gonna start with 1 cup of white vinegar. And you can do this on the stovetop, but I'm gonna do it in the microwave. Did I say microwave? Microwave. Okay, add about a cup of water. Add about a teaspoon of salt. And about 4 tablespoons of sugar. This is your brine. So I'm just gonna start to heat this and let the sugar and salt dissolve. While that's heating, we will cut up the onion. All right, I'm just gonna use a different knife. Not my favorite one, but you know. Take off this outer layer here. I'm gonna cut into slices and then just go into this little bowl that I have. Let me give this a stir. And then it'll go back in there and continue dissolving.
Okay, so everything is dissolved, as you can see. We just need to set this to the side and just let it cool a little bit. You don't want it to be super hot when you pour it over the onions. So let me just put that right here for a second. We can put this away. Okay, I'm also gonna cut up some avocado to go with this while that's just cooling off. I know a lot of people get nervous about recipes like this because so much of it is homemade and it requires effort and energy. And yes, it is much easier to walk into the grocery store and just grab a thing of pickled onions and not do this. But I think once this happens regularly, you just get used to it, and it becomes like second nature. And you start making these things and you're like, oh, it's really not that hard. Also, I would say don't let it stop you from making these things if you don't want to do the completely homemade version, because some of these recipes are just so good. You don't want to miss them. Just buy the stuff that you need at the grocery store, even if it means it's not completely homemade. Okay, now I cut my avocado like so, but I leave one of the pits in the container that I'm storing the avocado in, and it helps the avocado not to brown quite as quickly. But at least then it's already ready to go. So it'll be ready for our lunches, and it's just an assembly process at that point. We don't have to worry about going through and prepping all of this stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2. And actually I need 2 of them for dinner tonight as well. I thought of a video idea the other day, and I wanna get y'all's feedback and see if it's something you'd be interested in. The concept would be healthy kitchen swaps. So things that we have swapped out in our kitchen over the course of the last several years, really, that are just better than maybe what traditionally is used. Doesn't mean that it's difficult to find or anything like that, but is that a video that you guys would be interested in seeing? I'd love to get your feedback on that. All right, so avocados are done. Looky there. Avocados, we've got the onions. Let's make some hummus. Now again, you can buy hummus. I have bought hummus plenty of times in the past, but we always have cans of chickpeas ready to go. So it's very easy to make. Also, I traditionally try and make my hummus a little less fattening than the store-bought hummus. So I add less oil and I add bone broth to mine so that it's just a little less fattening. All right, so for this, I'm actually just gonna use a blender cup. I like to drain the chickpeas or garbanzo beans because I feel like there's a lot of sodium. Well, this is no salt added, but I like to drain them and add my own liquid. Okay, so I am gonna add a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, maybe a tablespoon. I pop in 2 garlic cloves. Let's add about a teaspoon of lemon juice, which is gonna clear us out. Okay, about a teaspoon of cumin. That's just a preference thing. And then some salt. You can make whatever recipe you like with this. There's so many add-ins. Oh, we gotta add bone broth, hello. All right, so I'm just gonna use a little bit of my homemade bone broth from earlier here, even though we haven't strained off the fat all the way. Just a bit, couple tablespoons. Now we can blend this together and we'll have hummus. It's so simple. It's perfectly smooth, which is what we like. So now we have hummus, we've got avocado, we've got our onions, which this feels cool enough to pour in there now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so you wanna fill it so that it covers them. And these, depending on how thick you slice them, they could be ready in an hour. They could be ready in overnight. But basically they're just gonna turn like that beautiful pink pickled color. So now that we have all of those components ready to go, I'm just gonna make the chicken, then let it cool, and we'll store that away, and then they'll be ready for the bowls for lunches. Because like I said, I've already got feta cheese, we've got the dressing made, the rice is cooking, I've got lettuce on the garden if we wanna add that. I mean, all of the components are there. Another thing that you could add is some charred corn. That might be delicious as well, but we're good. Let's just get that chicken ready to go in the oven. My oven is currently preheating to 375 degrees. Let's give that chicken one last mix here. Once it's heated, the chicken should take about 20 to 25 minutes. Now you can shred yours. You could cook it and shred it. I'm gonna actually leave it in strips. You could have cut it into nuggets too. I mean, whatever your preference is. Y'all know, just make it what you want it to be. All right, let's let this go for 25 minutes and then that'll be ready as well. Have you guys seen the viral protein bagels? I'm very intrigued, so we're gonna try it together, okay? So what you do is you start with 1 cup of cottage cheese. And this goes into the blender to make it nice and smooth. So I'm using my food processor, 1 cup. I'm so curious about this. I keep seeing it. Okay, so now we need to blend this together until it's really smooth, okay? Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, nice and smooth, but I do need to scrape down the sides. Now, after this, you're supposed to transfer it to a bowl that you can mix in, but this little thing has a dough hook that you can put in there. So I'm gonna mix mine straight in here once we're ready, but you would probably do it differently unless you have this device. Get all that cottage cheese off of there and put in the dough hook or the, yeah, dough hook, dough blade. That's what it is. Okay, so that's gonna go in. All right, so now we add 1 cup of flour. I don't know, y'all. This is crazy. Low speed here. Oh, dough. We're gonna use that. Moving to our work surface, adding flour here. This particular recipe only makes 4 bagels, unless of course you wanna make mini ones, but it's really kind of a trial thing for us because I have not done these before. First time right now that this is happening. And I can already tell we're gonna need a little more flour. Now, I do need to add more flour so that we can knead it a bit. Okay, now it's easier to work with. That's good. I mean, you can see I've got lots of dough on my hands, but it's easier to work with. Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to divide this into 4 equal parts. They may not be perfect, but I think it'll be okay. Approximately 4 equal parts. Supposed to roll this into a snake. I don't know about how long. Well, let's just guesstimate here. Longer than that, because you got to wrap it around and make it a bagel. Like so. So I'll attach the ends, kind of like pinch together, trying to get them to stick together. Okay, I have a parchment lined baking sheet here. That looks pretty good actually. Y'all know I make sourdough bagels all the time, so I'm very curious about these. Okay, 1 down, 3 to go. I'm kind of twisting it a little bit, not like a pretzel, but almost so that it will stick really well to the other side. I also wonder too if you can just roll it into a ball like I traditionally make my bagels, roll it into a ball and then kind of poke a hole in the center, but I'm going with the exact instructions this time. And if we like them, I'll make them again and I'll let you know what I thought. Okay, for this next part, you need an egg wash. So 1 egg, add a touch of water, whisk that together. And this is really just to add that shininess to the top. Take some of that egg wash and just go all over the tops. I use this Everything Bagel seasoning blend. So I'm just gonna put some onto each one. Now, apparently you can make these in the air fryer and it only takes 5 minutes. My oven is actually already preheated to 375 because I've got chicken in there right now. So once that chicken comes out, this is gonna go into the oven 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes, it sounds like. They're supposed to puff up and be delicious bagels. So we're gonna give it a go. All right, so everything is ready for these honey harissa bowls. I'm gonna go ahead and put it all in the fridge. And then once we assemble, which should be tomorrow during lunchtime, I will show you what they look like. But we've got the hummus, we've got the avocado, the pickled onions actually look ready. They're nice and bright and pink. We've got the chicken, the rice, that's just gonna go in the fridge just like that. I've got the tzatziki already in the fridge and feta cheese is in the fridge too. So they're ready to go. This is an awesome lunch. The bagels just came out of the oven, so I'm thinking tomorrow we'll do a taste test on that. I don't know. We'll see if we get a wild hair tonight and if we decide to do it. I just finished eating the harissa honey chicken bowls. First comment is, I don't know if there's a difference in harissas, like maybe there are mild, medium, hot, things like that, but this was not spicy at all. I'm gonna add actually more harissa to that dressing. So when we go to Kava, which is one of our favorite places to go to get bowls, well, our kids actually don't like Kava, I'm not gonna lie, but my husband and I love Kava. If you get harissa, it will burn your mouth for the next 3 days. It's spicy. So I was kind of expecting this to be a little more similar. It was not spicy at all. So if you're concerned about spice, don't be on this one. So I'm gonna add a little bit more harissa and just see if it makes a difference. I completely forgot. I'm almost done with the bowl and realized that I didn't put any hummus on it. But it was delicious. Such an easy lunch to put together. I really love this one. The pickled onions were perfection. So, so good. The chicken was tasty. The rice was tasty. I mean, all of it together was so great. And I love having stuff like that for lunches because you can pull everything out. Everybody can decide what they want on their bowl or what they don't want and move along. Also, I was gonna try this on camera, but we woke up this morning and both my husband and I wanted to have one of those bagels that I made. So we already ate them. So I'm not gonna try it here on camera. They were very good, but I don't think I cooked them long enough. So they were pretty dense right in the center, but it almost looked like an uncooked version of dense. So I don't know if I said it in this video or a different one, but we are trying to calibrate our oven. It's new and we're trying to get it all worked out. And I think that the oven either temperature was too low or something, but it was still delicious and I will definitely be making them again. I'm just gonna adjust the cooking time a bit and possibly even the temperature. Oh, I also wanted to tell you, okay, about the juice. So after I was done filming last night, I decided to go ahead and make another juice. I was trying a completely new one: carrot, apple, ginger, and pineapple. And I actually did each one of the ingredients separately just to see which ones pass through that nut milk bag really easily. The carrots pass through easily, the ginger, the apple, so easy. The pineapple is the one. I thought it was the beets that were the issue, but I actually think it's the pineapple. It gets really frothy when you blend it, and so it's harder to pass through that bag. So I think what I'm gonna do from now on is actually blend the pineapple. I'm gonna put all of the product from the blend into the juices rather than try and separate out the pulp from the juice, because we like that anyway. We like having a little bit of pulp, but so good. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely try those harissa honey chicken bowls because these were delicious. I love them. I actually have a whole video coming out that's dedicated to bowls because that's one of our favorite things to eat. Absolutely love different styles of bowls. They're huge fans here. I hope that you guys enjoyed and I hope you're having a great week. Our verse today comes from 1 John 4:21, and he has given us this command: whoever loves God must also love their brother and sister. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, I would love if you would subscribe and stick around. Don't forget to check out the other video that I have listed above here. You're going to get even more content that you're going to love, and it's going to inspire and encourage you in the kitchen. You definitely need to try these honey harissa bowls because they are so good and you don't want to miss them. Have a great week.